Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy Nate, and today we're going to be discussing what's going to be happening throughout the rest of the week, and that includes severe weather, cooler temperatures, and believe it or not, even snow in the Northeast. Yes, you heard me correctly. Snow in April. I'm losing my mind too. So if you guys want to lose your mind with me, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media. Also follow me on social media. I got Twitter, I got my Discord server, which if you want to join, we have over 500 members strong. We have my Instagram, all sorts of stuff like that. If you guys want to check out my social medias, as I said, link in the description down below. Also, follow me on Twitch. I do play video games whenever I don't live stream on YouTube during the evenings. So if you guys want to check me out, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, let's talk about the severe weather first, because that's what we're known for. And we do have a slight risk today. This is a bit of a sleeper event, but it's more or less for hail. So if you don't want damage to your hail for the most part, people in Fort Worth, Arlington, San Angelo, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, you guys should probably bring your cars in. It's highly recommended, especially since you guys could have a 2 out of 5 on the severe weather index. So that's something that we really need to monitor. This is a slight risk for severe weather, but this is a mainly hail-oriented event. Speaking of hail, if we take a look at the probabilities here, your 5 is indicated in brown, your 15 is indicated in yellow, and so whatever probability you have that chance of seeing 1-inch size hail or greater within 25 miles of a point. But you also have a pesky hatched risk here, a significant severe risk that is located over the 15% chance for hail. So, as I said, Fort Worth, Arlington, San Angelo, DeSoto, Cedar Hill. If you guys live over there, you guys could potentially see some large hail. The significant severe risk means that you have a 10% chance or greater probability of seeing 2-inch hail or larger. So that is definitely something that you do not want to mess with, especially since that could easily damage cars and windshields as well as windows. We had golf ball size hail last week over near College Station, and that broke windows for the most part across the board there. So that is definitely something that you all need to consider as this moves on through overnight. Then we have our day 2 risk here, which is a small marginal. I foresee this to expand just a little bit, but I do not include, or it stays without the tornado parameters. It will mainly stay as a wind and a hail risk for the most part. So that is definitely something to consider. So New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Metairie, as well as Lafayette and Kenner. By the way, I know I butcher people's, towns, so do not get mad at me, please. Love of God. I do live in Pennsylvania, so I am uneducated as to how people pronounce their towns and native populations. So just give me a little bit of slack, and we'll work with it. But as I said, marginal in those areas. Please consider, being weather aware. Your chances for severe weather does include 5% hail and a 5% wind. No tornado threat here for you all. By the way, if you guys are curious if there was a tornado threat, there was none. And there's a 5% risk for today as well. So definitely something to monitor with that. Then we also have the event that we're watching closely is Wednesday. Right now it's a general thunderstorm risk according to the Storm Prediction Center. But I can foresee the potential for a marginal to be included, especially around the areas like the New Orleans, the Baton Rouge area, all the way over into Mobile, Biloxi. Just that general vicinity right within here. I could potentially see them inducing a marginal for wind and maybe even tornadoes. But as of right now, there's just too much uncertainty in the models to actually say definitively as to whether or not we're going to get a risk or not. And I'll talk about that a bit more later on in the video. All right, let's take a look at the severe weather here for today. I'll zoom in here. If you guys want to be able to tell the time as to when this is all happening, look over to this right here. That is in Eastern Daylight Time. So if you subtract an hour, you guys will be able to see you know, how and when these where's you get the point when it's going to be happening. So if we take a look through here, for the most part, you can see yeah, we got on the 60. All right, that's fine. So if we continue on through, this is the morning hours of Monday, and heading into the afternoon here, you can start to see that some storms start to form in places like Mexico, right near the Del Rio area. So Del Rio, I know I have a viewer over there who lives there. If you live over into that general vicinity, you guys could definitely see some more storms. Some more areas like Brownwood, maybe south of Brownwood near the San Saba areas, you guys could potentially see some more thunderstorms. That'll eventually move off, eventually towards the Stephenville area. So if you live near Stephenville, if you live near San Angelo, as well as near Azona, you guys could potentially see some more severe weather, potentially within your areas, some more supercells that could develop. Also, around the areas like Dallas-Fort Worth, at around 6 to 7 p.m., I can anticipate some storms to really start to fire off. And so if you guys live over there, as I said, Fort Worth is in the area of significant severe. Dallas is not very far away from Fort Worth, as much of you know. And so that is really something to where if you guys have cars, I'd highly recommend putting them under some sort of roofing or shelter, especially like a garage, to where you guys wouldn't have any damage from all that. And then as time continues to progress, this is the 8 o'clock time frame to where more storms continue to linger near the Azona area, as well as near the general vicinity of Brownwood. So if you guys live over there, if you guys live near Menard, you guys could even see some more storms. Brady could definitely see some more storms later on. And then south of Abilene, there could be some more storms that could fire off, as well as near the Breckenridge areas, heading on further into the Mineral Wells area. At around 9 o'clock, you guys could fully anticipate some more storms. And then across the general area, for the most part, from 10 o'clock, there's just a consolidating line of storms that start to form, especially into eastern Oklahoma. And as that continues to progress from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, if you guys live near like Fort Smith, you guys could see some more storms that can fire off and push on through. That'll be your spotty hail risk up in Oklahoma, but as time moves along for Texas, it'll start to turn more and more into a balanced hail and wind event rather than just solely hail. So definitely something that we're going to want to watch as that continues to move on through overnight. All right, let's move on to the event here for Wednesday. We're not really going to talk about the event on Tuesday a whole lot, because I really don't foresee stuff happening there. But for Wednesday, if we take a look at the NAM model, you can see the NAM still has the threat for severe weather to linger in places like Mississippi, Alabama. The threat for severe storms, maybe even tornadic storms, exists here. You can see how as that continues to consolidate, that'll push on through into places like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, as well as Florida into the overnight hours, and even Georgia. So this is definitely something that we're going to want to watch. The GFS doesn't say this for the most part. If we take a look at the GFS and how it expands into Wednesday, you can see that the GFS is really adamant. Here's Wednesday. It's really adamant that it will be localized over places like Louisiana, southern Louisiana, or actually eastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, as well as southern Alabama and western Florida. But I wouldn't be surprised if this extends a bit further north, because the GFS is a little bit cold bias, but I wouldn't be surprised if the event also extends further south from the NAM, because if we go back to the NAM and we take a look at hour 60, which is 18Z, other known as the peak of noon, if you will, or 1 o'clock, around those hours, and we take a look at the model trend loop, you can see how the thunderstorms actually were a lot more further north than the runs that are ahead of it. So this was the first run that picked up on this event, and then as the runs got a lot closer and closer to today, you can see the severe weather actually went further and further south until today, or the latest run that we're watching right now, to which it actually went a bit further north again. So we're going to have to continue to watch this as this continues to unfold in front of us. The potential for severe weather continues to linger on Wednesday, and so this is definitely something that we're going to want to watch as this continues to get closer and closer to the day of interest. All right, so let's actually take a look at the just general area now. We'll take a look at the temperatures for the most part across the United States. Then we'll get into our snow event, which is kind of funny in my honest opinion. But we'll get into the temperatures for the most part, and then head into the snowstorm as we see fit. But as of right now, this is the lows, right, for the most part in the United States. And you can see how as time progresses and how we start to get into the peak of Monday, your warm temperatures, you might look at me and say, hey, there's no cool down. All these orange temperatures, if you look at the bottom of your screen, that indicates, 70s or 80s in some spots. Doesn't look like there's any cool down. What are you talking about? And you may be right. This definitely does not look like a cool down. But, you can see places in the Dakotas, the Rockies in the general, they're relatively cold, below freezing for the most part, especially in those Burgundy areas. Those are actually around the 20s in some spots. So definitely cold for the most part there. It's definitely northeast-ish in spring right now, especially in how some temperatures in the 40s, 50s, maybe even 60s in some spots, especially near the Ohio River Valley and the Great Lakes vicinity. But then as time continues to progress, like all things typically do, they change. And so Tuesday it'll be the same, I believe, for the most part. You can see how Florida is going to Florida things, especially since some temperatures get into the 90s in some spots. But you can also notice that giant blue area over places like northern Arkansas into Kentucky. And that's relatively interesting for the most part there, because you could see some cooler temperatures around the Ohio River Valley into the Mississippi River Valley. And that could indicate a potential cooling for the most part there within that general vicinity. But still, 60s in the northeast in places like New York and Vermont, New Hampshire, across the New England areas. And so as of right now, it doesn't seem all too cool, but you notice that some of the temperatures in the southeast has went down a little bit. Places like Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, your temperatures went down to about 75-ish. It was 80 or 80-ish the day before. But as of right now, temperatures are relatively warm. You can see the GFS actually picks up on some severe weather near Tuesday around the New Orleans, Biloxi area, which is the reason why there's that very light gap in between all of those reds and oranges. But then as time moves along, we'll move on to Wednesday here. And you can see here is the peak of Wednesday. And it looks very much the same, except for the Mid-Atlantic. The Mid-Atlantic typically is relatively cool for the most part. For no reason whatsoever, it always is. And so you can see, for the most part, it's in the 50s and 60s, extending all the way down to Arkansas. You guys are also around the 50s. There are some areas north that are in like the 60s, maybe the 65-ish region. But then, as I said, like all things typically do, they change. And this is Thursday for you all. Bear witness to the fact that the Deep South is in the 60s and almost 70s. As well as Texas, which is in some areas around the 50s. And the Midwest, the Ohio River Valley, and the Northeast is relatively cool at the moment. This is a lot of cold temperatures for the most part. So there's your cool down. It starts to begin, and it starts to transpire around most areas in the United States. Heading into Friday, you can see Florida is still going to Florida. There could still be 90 around Miami. What else is new? You still have some areas around the Carolinas that get up to around 60s in some spots. But to think that we've had so much severe weather that has impacted areas like Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, even Alabama, and to see how the temperatures have went from 70s in some days to 50s in some spots, this is a cooldown if I haven't seen one before, and this is definitely something that by the time Friday comes around, you can definitely see some cooler temperatures. So if you're seeing this at this part of the video, plan accordingly. It's not going to be like life-threatening cold temperatures. It's not going to be as bad as, say, most of the Arctic blasts that we've had over the winter. It is spring, so we can anticipate it to be a little warmer than that. But these are some still relatively cool temperatures, and so we do definitely have to monitor that for the most part. Speaking of monitoring, we're at that part of the model run to where we can actually start to anticipate some some snow. So Thursday into Friday, this is the 10-to-1 ratio. We can take a look at Kuchera later, but this is according to the GFS run. And the GFS starts to see that snow Thursday morning. And so, those cool temperatures in the Northeast, they really start to mix in with the moisture. And for the most part, you can potentially see some snowfall amounts even above a foot in some areas. Now, we are relatively far out from this, so this could increase, it could decrease. The models are just like that for winter weather. It's very hard to be able to predict winter weather on a molecular level, if you know what I mean, on a very small scale. So this is, I'd say a reasonable forecast for some areas. Let's actually take a look from New England here, and you'll be able to see that some areas do get into those bright pinks, which could mention or could mean that some snowfall amounts could be in upwards of maybe even over a foot into the 14-inch general vicinity. But that will be mostly by the time the event ends. So it should be over by say Friday at midnight, Saturday overnight. That's when storms could really end. But the fact that we can see some snow in most of these areas here really tells you how weird weather is and how crazy it could be for the most part. And in the United States, it's crazy across the globe for the most part. So we'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at the Euro model and how much snow it predicts for the Northeast. So if we take a look here, this is on Tuesday, so we need to go over to Thursday. So here's Thursday here, and it doesn't see a lot of snow until it actually gets in towards the morning to the mid-afternoon hours, and you can see that's when snow starts to ramp up a bit. And the snow forecast is actually it's forecasted to be a lot more further south than the GFS. It's a lot more of a widespread vicinity around places like Birmingham, and that'll move eventually into places like Worcester, also into Rhode Island. So this is definitely something to monitor. Snowfall amounts, in my opinion, at highest could be around a foot, but across the board in some of these areas, I feel like 3 to 5 inches is a reasonable forecast for this general vicinity. If you're towards the outskirts, the further south you are, the lesser amounts of snow that you'll get. So if you say live near like Harrisburg, I'd say you get no snow. If you live near like say Trenton, you probably wouldn't get any snow. If you live in like NYC, I would highly anticipate that you won't get any snow. So it's just one of those things to where we'll have to continue to monitor for the most part. But some areas, here in the Northeast could potentially still see some flurries, and that's winter weather could potentially linger further on. And you might not even be done yet. You might even see some more cold spells that could come on through. I don't foresee it anytime soon, but that could definitely be play a factor as this continues to unfold in front of us. So I'll keep you up to date in regards to snowfall amounts if you live up in the Northeast. So yep, now we're heading into Saturday. So this is past the snowfall event, and you can see warm weather quickly returns. For places in the Ohio River Valley and the Northeast. Temperatures were sub-freezing before. Now they're not. 50s and 60s in some spots. So this is definitely something to really monitor. The deep south doesn't see any sort of warm up anytime soon. I mean, Mississippi and Louisiana does see a bit of a warm up. 60s and 70s is a warm up, but you do have a boundary in place. You can see. Can I backtrack here for a bit? Yes. So here's your backtrack. You can see how there's like this line here into where you can see these oranges, and then all of a sudden, right north of it, it's these blues. And what's happening here is there's this boundary in place, the stationary boundary, that's going to limit severe weather for the most part across places in the deep south. There is a little bit of a low pressure system which could form off here in Texas, but this doesn't look all too significant for severe weather because of that boundary that's in place. So I don't foresee any sort of severe weather happening, or at least like strong severe weather happening after the events that I mentioned earlier on in the video. This is definitely something that we're going to have to watch out for because, as I mentioned, we're in this kind of pattern. If you've seen any of my other videos, we're in this pattern to where we see severe weather and then we take 4 or 5 days off, and then we see some more severe weather, we start to take 4 or 5 days off, and that's what's happening right now. But I could foresee the potential uptrend as we head into May. I'm looking at the models intensively, and some of them are hinting to that factor. But I don't really have a lot of evidence to talk about it as of right now. Specifically because once you start to head towards the end of the model runs, they become a lot more inaccurate. So I really am not going to talk about a whole lot of stuff that I think could be inaccurate on this channel. So, just something to consider for the most part. But yeah, that's mainly going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy the content, please be sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media. Also follow me on Twitch, because I do live streams for video games whenever I have time and I'm not live streaming here on YouTube. Also join my Discord server, link in the description down below as well. Also, another thing to mention as a future idea for a video that probably will come out later on this week prior to the snowstorm, or maybe around the snowstorm if I don't think anything else is really happening. But I will be giving out my forecast for hurricane season and what that could mean for the United States. I also will be showing off what stuff we have to be able to look at this tropical weather, and being able to go in-depth analysis on what all could we see this year, because last year was relatively historic for the most part. I mean, it was historic. It was the most named storms we've had ever, and so, could we see some more of that? Could we see less of that? Could we see a lot less of that? I'd have to continue to pay attention as this continues to move on through. One final thing that I would like to mention is I would like to thank our sponsors. Yes, we surprisingly have sponsors for the content that we provide. I know, it's crazy to me as well. But we have 11 of them. Melissa Wallace, Ressa, Nightmare, Cryptomaria, Marie Hall, Back at the Ranch, Focus, The Real Necro, Tanner, Theresa, and Hockey Mama. All of you guys are amazing. I appreciate you all so much, and I wouldn't be able to do stuff without you guys, and even the people who aren't sponsors. I appreciate you all as well. Whether you've liked the video, you've subscribed, you've even donated to me on stream to help try and increase the quality of my live streams. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much. So, without you guys, we wouldn't have made up to 5,000 subscribers. If we take a look here earlier on analytics, we actually had 2,500 subscribers. We had actually less than that at the beginning of March, like around 2,000. So the fact that we've more than doubled our subscribers over that span is just absolutely amazing, and I'm super grateful, super thankful for you all. And so let's continue to build this channel together and continue to get the word out about the weather. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy Nate. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace. How do I end this video again? Oh, there we go. I found it.